Welcome to Michael Pepper Tech. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about switching up the Apple ecosystem over to the Android and Windows side. In this particular video, I'm going to be talking about moving from the MacBook Air 15-inch to an Asus laptop. In the previous video, if you haven't seen that, check it out. It'll be a card at the end up here talking about moving from the iPhone 15 Pro to the S24 Ultra. So let's get into it. First of all, I want to say keyboard shortcuts. Yes, well, there are keyboard shortcuts on the Windows side, and that has gotten a lot better. On the Apple side of things, being able to do screenshots and screen recording and some of that stuff with quick keyboard shortcuts that are pretty simple to remember. And there's multitude of keyboard shortcuts for things, and most of them work within the different apps, and they're the same thing. And on the Windows side, sometimes it's the Windows key plus a combination of things. Sometimes it's the function key plus a combination of things. Sometimes it's control plus things or option plus things. It's not as simple to learn, at least in my opinion, looking at it the side from a new user. Now, I've been using both macOS and Windows since I was about 5, 6 years old in school and at home. And so, I have about 30 years experience using those. And so it's not been much of a transition and much difficult for me. But for a new user, I just want to express that that might be something to look out. The other thing has been battery life. Being that I was using a laptop on the Mac side, the battery life is significantly better. Not having to worry about performance changes when I unplug or plug in the device. Not have to worry about really, okay, I need to set some new power setting because I unplugged the device and now the fans are going to change and the performance mode is going to change. And so you can use function plus F to change the fan curve, but to actually change the performance mode, you have to go into Asus's application. You can change it from performance to battery to balanced, but when you change it there, it doesn't change everything. So then you have to go into Windows settings and change it really to their performance mode to really get the full performance if you want that on battery. And so there's settings that exist for the manufacturer, but also for the OS. And sometimes they're in check with each other. Other times they're not. Next thing I'll say that's a little bit annoying was with the Mac side of things, once you've signed in with your Apple ID, everything syncs up. Everything starts to sync up your notes. Your messages can come across. There's no real additional settings. Now, Asus was really nice in that when I went to set it up, it pops up this prompt. Oh, do you have an Android phone? Yep, okay. Now do Windows Phone Link, and you sign in with your Google account. Everything links across. I also then, when I was doing some things, I went and installed Samsung's thing because right now quick share and nearby share are going to become one thing, but right now they're separate. So I have both nearby share and quick share on there, and you have to kind of remember which is which and open quick share, turn on Bluetooth if it's not already on to be able to use that function. Where on Apple side of thing, AirDrop and some of those things will work just over Wi-Fi and create kind of a direct connection. This will do that too, but it does require Bluetooth to be on, and then the devices kind of connect over Bluetooth initially, and then it will use whichever is faster. And so some of those extra steps that you have to take, which is kind of the opposite of iOS and Android, where sometimes on iOS you have extra steps that you have to take in comparison to the Android, especially like getting into settings. About settings, the other thing is how there is the control center on the side of macOS where you can see your calendar and see some of your events and things like that. Where on the Windows side, I have to kind of click on the clock icon and then it pops up some things, and then you can click on the calendar and it brings into the full app. Some of those widgets type things that are just not there yet on the Windows side of things is missed. The other thing I'll say that I miss is some applications. So like LumaFusion and Pixelmator are um, available on macOS, but they're not available on Windows. Now, Pixelmator is available on Android, and I talked about that with my video a little bit, but I'll talk about that a little bit here as well, where some of the features are missing. It's not exactly a one-to-one version the same as it is on iOS. The other thing that's been a little bit is syncing up photos. I use Google Photos, and yeah, you can install like the Google Drive client and then have everything sync across. By default, it kind of wants to download everything. So I had to go and turn that off. I want it to just sync over the cloud so I can just click a picture or a video, and if I want to edit it, then download it, not have to wait and have everything download and have it take like a day, day and a half to download all that stuff. It can just do it when it's plugged in, and it just does it over time and when you're not using it and stuff, where the Google Photos, I kind of had to pause some of that stuff to prevent it from just taking over my computer and taking over my Wi-Fi speed and doing that in the background. The other thing has been just in general of having multiple things open where, because Apple creates their operating systems, everything kind of runs as part of the operating system and almost runs in the background. So if a call comes in, that comes up and I don't have to have a specific thing open, where on the Windows side, it tends to be running in the background. Messages come in and some of that stuff. It's changed, but it seems to be that it's more of a battery hog, uses more of the processor, has running like a variety of apps as opposed to just running like a utility. And so some of that's a little bit bothersome and a little bit annoying. But as far as moving over, it hasn't been really as difficult as I would think. And there's plenty of tutorials out there. There's plenty of content out there. There's plenty of information on Microsoft website. A lot of times you'll get a prompt and you can click and it will bring you right into the browser and bring you into the specific section where it will tell you how to do a particular thing. If you want to be able to like mirror your phone to your computer or your computer to your phone or to your tablet, those features exist and it will give you instructions on how to do it. But it's not as seamless as just signing into an account and knowing that those features are there, or being prompted for them, or given kind of a tutorial for them, where on the iOS and the macOS side, some of those things are more obvious and just part of the fact that you're working with a singular company. So some of these features that take time and some of these features that are not in parity are a little bit different. I will say the other thing that's a little bit different with things as that goes is choosing the folder where things go, because they don't always go to downloads or they don't always go to desktop. It's really nice that you can choose where they go, but it would be nice if it would tell you when you're setting it up, like, hey, this is where it is, as opposed to clicking browse and then choosing it, because not everybody knows that you need to click browse to then choose where it goes and make sure that it's going to somewhere that makes sense, as opposed to like when you send it by default, it goes into a subfolder within Quick Share, so then you can search for that. So some of the things where you have options on hardware and software features is really nice on the Windows side, but it also just means some of those extra steps if you're choosing to set up to have your devices work well together and to sync and to be able to just kind of be on one device at a time, as opposed to maybe you have your phone out because you don't want to miss a text or a call. One of the things that has been really nice though is with that phone link is if you get a text that comes through with two-factor authentication, goes through to my phone, and I can say on my phone to send that to the computer, and then it just sends it through and it shows up. And I can even do that for my watch. It'll pop up on my watch and it'll hit send to, Michael's laptop, and then it does it, and then I don't have to sit there and look at my watch or my phone and type those numbers over exactly. I know it's going to copy and paste over. So that stuff is really nice. I will say that the transition for me has been really easy, and I think for most people it would. And then as you kind of discover the features that you want, you add those in, and there's plenty of videos about it, like I said. I hope you found this video helpful. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. That helps me a lot. If you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up. And of course, if you watched all the way to the end, let me know your thoughts down below. If you've switched between operating systems, between ecosystems, whether it's iOS to Android, Android to iOS, macOS to Windows, Windows to macOS, things you discovered that you liked, things you discovered that you didn't like, maybe some things that are missing, some tips and tricks for our fellow users down below, things I haven't covered. And of course, I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to watch part 1 up here. And of course, subscribe for additional parts as I cover things like moving from an iPad to an Android tablet. Thanks for watching.